everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello, my name is Jessica. I make videos about the Walt Disney Company and whatever else is exciting in my mundane life at the time. Happy to have you here. So a few of you have requested for me to talk a little bit more about my wedding, and I'm super excited to do that because my wedding was the most wonderful, amazing, perfect day ever, and it was, oh God, it was just everything. And so I can't wait to divulge details and talk about my favorite memories and stuff. But I did think it was necessary to give a little backstory. I think our story is pretty neat, and I think it's largely star-crossed and fate-driven in a lot of ways, not to sound corny, but there are definitely multiple examples of things that absolutely had to happen the exact way that they happened, or we would never have gotten together. Obviously I'm biased, but I think our story is pretty cute, and so I thought before I dive in and share our wedding story that I would tell you about the 9 years that it took to get there. So next week, video divulging wedding details and favorite memories. This week, video kind of recapping the 9-year journey that it took for us to say I do, and kind of our wonderful little love story, because obviously no couple's perfect, but I mean, I'm a pretty big fan of the way everything turned out for us. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so to set the scene, let's go back to the glorious year 2009. Wow, things were amazing in 2009. 2009 was a good time. But what wasn't a good time for me was public school. I was a freshman in high school and it was hell, and I hated every second of it. I was really miserable, and I knew that I could not continue to go there for the next 3 years. It was a big topic of discussion in my family. Would I get homeschooled again? Were we gonna try to find a different type of school? What was the deal? Because I was not going back to this school for another year. So I don't even know how we found it, but somehow we found this charter school in my area that was for film and theater. It was a very strange school, I will say that. It was in a former water treatment facility. We didn't have desks, we had tables. It was a very strange school. But Adam aside, even if we take Adam out of this equation, I could not be more thankful that that was my high school experience, because while it was so strange and so weird, I had a really wonderful high school experience. There's a lot of dumb stuff that happened, but I think that's essential to the high school experience. And when I look back on it, I think I had a very largely quintessential high school experience, which as a person who romanticized high school, I'm pretty happy that, it worked out the way it did. So that being said, found this school, applied to get in, got in, and we decided that's where I was going. So 10th grade starts. Our classes at my school were block scheduling, so even in odd days, but on the first day of my sophomore year, we went to all of our classes and they were all an hour long so that we would just get to meet all our teachers and stuff. I went to my first class, whatever, and then my second class was film. So here's where I reveal a little bit about how kind of dumb I was. When they said it was a school for film, I assumed they meant film acting, theater acting. I didn't think it was gonna be how to film. That just never occurred to me. No, it was how to film. It was how to make movies. Yup. I didn't want that. That was not what I was looking for. I was just I'll go to some cool acting classes. That sounds fun. But I picked to go to school there for film because I thought it was going to be acting for film. And I thought that sounded more exciting than acting for theater. So point one of how fate intervened into Adam and my relationship, I signed up for a film class unknowingly. And I walked in, and I don't have extreme memories of seeing Adam, but Adam was 100% there, and that was the first time Adam and I met. Did we talk? Absolutely not. I didn't talk to Adam for months and months and months. Adam in 10th grade and me in 10th grade were the most polar opposite that you could possibly be. I was a goody two-shoes. I was an A+ honor roll student. I was a devout Christian. I was very, very far in one direction. No pun intended. Adam, on the other hand, very popular with everyone. He was in every group in high school, just every clique knew Adam, and almost everyone liked Adam. And it was so weird to me because I didn't get it, because he was really kind of quiet in our class. He didn't talk much. He slept a lot. He was not a great student. And I was just okay, I don't really get it. He seems fine. He seems nice. And he would try to talk to me, and I thought that him trying to talk to me was like a prank because, again, I was homeschooled for a while for one, and so most of my like ideas about school were kind of based from like TV and movies. And also my experience in ninth grade was really bad, and I was really made fun of a lot and kind of bullied a little bit. And so I was like, oh, this like cool popular guy is talking to me. This is a joke. Like, this is a setup, right? Like, he's not talking to me to be like a nice person. He's talking to me to, you know, say something embarrassing about me to his friends or something. I don't know what I thought, but I was like, he doesn't actually want to be my friend. So I kind of snubbed him. Like, I would be like, hi, or whatever, and I would go back to writing my Jonas Brothers fan fiction and not really acknowledge him or have conversations with him. It was not my nicest moment. So we go throughout the year, and as the year goes on, I make friends at this new school, including some friends in this class, and they become really good friends with Adam. Like, not best friends, but they are now very conversational with him in class. And so I start kind of warming up to him a little bit because my friends are talking to him. And one day, he starts reading their palm because he watched a YouTube video or something on it the night before and figured out how to read palms. And I was like, okay, like, I'm game, read my palm. And at this point, forgot to mention, I have entered my first relationship ever with a guy that went to our school, and we'd probably been together for like 2 or 3 months at this point. And yeah, like, I was in my first relationship ever. And Adam read my palm and said a lot of things. I don't remember most of them, but the main takeaway is that I would only fall in love with 2 people in my life, and the second person that I fell in love with, I was going to marry. Spoiler alert, that's what happened. And I was like, no, that's impossible, because I knew who I was with currently, and I was like, there's no way this is the person I'm gonna marry. Because even though I was in this relationship, I was like, no, we're not getting married. And I had already, despite this being my first relationship, I felt like I had already been in love with someone previously that was like unrequited. So I was like, no, no, no. The second person I fall in love with can't be the person I marry, because I was like, no, like, I'm dating this guy and I'm not marrying him. So I was like, there's no way that that's true. So whatever, that was kind of probably the first time we like genuinely interacted and had like a fun conversation. And weirdly enough, it was him predicting that we were gonna get married one day. That was really close to the end of sophomore year. We didn't really talk much the rest of the year, like much more conversational than we would have been previously, but not really, you know, whatever. We were acquaintances at best. Junior year is where this starts to get interesting. Our third period class was chemistry, and I had it with Adam and my boyfriend at the time. And our, I wanna say 7th period, not that it matters, I think 7th period, we had Spanish 3, and that I had with Adam and with his current girlfriend. So a little saucy, a little spicy here. Also worth noting, our really good mutual friend was in both of these classes with us also. And he, Richard, if you're watching this, what up? He definitely bridged the gap throughout the course of this year so that like Adam and I became better friends for sure, because he was just like good friends with both of us. All of that is important to note in this story. We had a very flirtatious banter throughout 11th grade. I don't really know how we got there, but we came back from summer vacation and Adam was clean shaven. Like, he still had a beard, but like his hair was shorter. I don't know if I mentioned it. Adam had really long hair and facial piercings in 10th grade, which was, again, not my vibe. Like, I was obviously very judgmental and terrible. I was in 11th grade, let me live. And he came back with like a really nice haircut, a beard, but like much more groomed. Facial piercings were gone. And I was like, okay. So we started this like really playful banter because suddenly Adam was a really good student and incredibly smart. And as it turns out, he was always smart. He was just like not applying himself. Adam was a great student in chemistry. For most of the year, we were number 1 and 2 in the class. Throwback to Edline, if y'all remember Edline, and you could see what your ranking was in each of your classes. So Adam and I would know which one of us was number 1 and which one of us was number 2, and we would screenshot which number we were and our GPA in that class, or not GPA, like whatever our grade was in that class, and we would screenshot it and post it on each other's Facebook walls and be like, haha, like, I did better on this test, so I'm doing better than you now. And it was really fun. And then in Spanish, I was significantly better in Spanish. It was just really cool to like see his personality grow. And We also had, again, these classes were with like people that were my friends now, and I wasn't the new kid in school anymore. So I actually had more of a personality to show. And I think it was essential to us becoming friends, was like having these two classes together with people we were both comfortable with. By the middle of the year, he would like come over to my friends and I at lunch and like sit at our lunch table, not for the whole time, but just like would stop in to say hey or whatever. March of junior year, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it was March, I broke up with my boyfriend of, at this point, a year and a month. And Adam, sometime around March, also broke up with his very long-term girlfriend. I think it really brought both of us kind of together. The school year ended. We were like on good terms. We were still like talking on Facebook and stuff here and there. Early August of that summer between junior and senior year, he posted on my Facebook wall and was like, hey, Jessica, are you doing anything on blank date? No, it's a date. And I was like, what is this? Like, we're not going on a date. Like, I am not cool enough to be going on a date with this person. Like, no. So I responded. Also, again, this is on our Facebook wall. So if I recall correctly, like a bunch of our like mutual friends are like, oh my God, and like, kind of gassing both of us up about it. And I was like, okay. We ended up going on our first date. I met him at City Place, which is like, basically, for those of you that are not from South Florida, it's like a downtown shopping, dining, like a Disney Springs, but like crappier. And it's really close to the beach. Like, you can see the beach from like certain areas of City Place. It was the high school go-to spot. We got like Rita's Italian Ice. We went to a movie. We saw The Change Up with Ryan Reynolds. It was absolutely terrible. It wasn't a perfect date, but I think we had a good time. We had some good conversation. It was a little awkward. So we go into senior year and I'm like waiting, because this was probably like 2 weeks before senior year started. And I was like, cool, we're gonna talk about it and we're gonna be boyfriend and girlfriend and we're gonna have a great senior year. Absolutely not. We never spoke about it. We still interacted, like when I saw him, like we were still friendly, but like the magical banter of 11th grade was gone because we weren't competing anymore in classes and stuff. And so we were just like casually friends. The next time I really remember interacting would have been prom. So Adam went to prom with his best friend Paige, like platonically, but we were together a ton that night and it was so nice. At this point, I was obsessed with him. Like I would say by the second half of senior year, I was like pretty much like, I really want to date this person. I remember us signing each other's yearbooks. Again, I got a very nice flirty message in my yearbook. And then I didn't see him again until graduation. Saw him at graduation. We took some pictures together afterwards. That was the first time I met his mom. We kind of said our goodbyes. That was kind of it. I didn't think I would ever see him again after that. And I kind of mourned that and I was sad about it. One of his friends threw him a birthday party in July and texted me asking if I wanted to go. And I decided not to because it was like, I had already put it to rest in my head. Like I had already been like, no, and I'd already gone through kind of the grief of like, we're not gonna date. And so I was like, no, I don't really want to go to this birthday party and then have feelings like reignited and then do all of this again. So I decided not to go. College starts. I ended up going to a local community college because my mom wasn't doing super great and did not want me to leave. And I'm a huge people pleaser and could not possibly disappoint my parents. So they wanted me to stay home, so I stayed home. There's a reason that that's where I was led, and it's because that's where Adam was. So I went to this college begrudgingly. I was very upset because I had worked my whole life to be able to get into UCF because it's the school I wanted to go to because I wanted to live by Disney. I went through the first like week and it was fine. It felt like high school. I kept seeing like random people that I wasn't friends with from high school, but that I knew. And my one friend, Gabby, also went to that school. And so she was like my saving grace of like, oh, this is like one person I actually like. And ironically, she was also in that film class with me and Adam. On the probably second week of school, I was in the library between classes and I was just, killing time. And I still had quite a while before my next class, but I was like, I think I'm gonna go get coffee or something. Like I decided I needed to leave the library. And I'm going down the steps and I literally bump into Adam. It still like blows my mind. It was a movie. It was literally a movie. Ran into him. We both look at each other like real confused. And I'm like, what are you doing here? Like, he was supposed to be in Tallahassee. He was supposed to be 6 hours away. He's like, I can't find my class. And he was like lost trying to find his class and went the wrong way. He was not even going the right way to the class that he was supposed to go to. Faded, star-crossed. We literally just ran into each other on a whim in the middle of this college hallway. And we were not both supposed to be at this school. I was actually so angry that he was there because I was like, are you kidding? Like, I didn't express that to him, but there are tweets that used to come up. I was very active on Time Hop for a while, and every year at the end of August, these tweets would come around. I was really upset because I was like, I have gotten over this. Like, I have moved forward. And now this is happening again. Like, I'm gonna wanna date him again. And so I was kind of upset and happy. Like, it was nice to see someone I cared about, but I was just like, okay, this has like opened up all these feelings again. And somehow, I don't really remember like how we transitioned to this, but we started hanging out like every day at school. So one day I texted him and I was like, was this a pity date? Like in junior year? And he was like, no. And I was like, did you like me? And he was like, yeah. And then I was just like, well, why did nothing come of it? Like, why did we go on one date and never talk about it again? And as it turns out, he was going through a lot of stuff in his like family life and his personal life. And I mean, he didn't date anyone else. Like, it's not like he was like with someone instead of me. And he was just like, I just really couldn't get into a relationship at that time. And senior year was kind of the same thing. And then I knew I was going off to college or was planning on going off to college. And it was just kind of like, what's the point? The next time I saw him, we were in the parking lot at school. I was walking to my car and he's like, we should hang out soon. And I was like, okay, we should hang out. And he called it hang out, and I will never let him forget it, that it was not a date. We hung out, but it was our first date. And so September 15th, we went back to City Place again. And this time we saw The Campaign, I believe it was, another really bad movie. I was in love with him. Like, I just knew I was in love with him. He put his arm around me during the movie and I was like, oh my God, I'm in love with him. Like, I'm obsessed. We spent some time, like, City Place is like kind of picturesque. I mean, it's downtown West Palm Beach, so it's not like amazing, but there's like a lot of pretty buildings and lights and water, and it's a nice spot for a date. And we like stood on like rooftops of parking garages and we're just like talking about our lives and like talking about like how our last relationships, it kind of messed us up a little bit, and how like we were both kind of lonely, and like just leaving high school was weird, and really like vulnerable personal conversation. It was just a really romantic night. We had pumpkin spice lattes and it was perfect. And then at some point we went to the beach because the beach is like literally adjacent, and we went to the beach at night and we were sitting on the beach, and I don't 100% remember how we transitioned to the conversation, but I was 100% the one that was like, can't we just date? Because he was still planning on going to Tallahassee for school in the spring. So he was still planning on leaving. And it was only gonna be a few months. And I was like, can't we just date? Like, can't we just like see what happens? He literally kissed me in response. And I was like, so is that literally corny like a movie? I was like, so is that like a yes? And we started dating and it was perfect. Our first official date was the most magical, perfect, Nicholas Sparks-esque like night. It was wonderful. And we really became each other's best friends very quickly. He got really close to my mom. Like I would go to work or something and he would like be out talking with her on our patio without me home. It was a really solid start. He respected my views. We had different views, but he respected them. He respected who I was. He didn't care that my favorite bands were the Jonas Brothers and that I loved Taylor Swift, and every other guy that I had ever liked thought that that was so lame. You know, it wasn't what he listened to, but he liked it. I got him super into Ed Sheeran. He's like actually a big Ed Sheeran fan now. He got me into Mumford & Sons. Like, we really started to like share each other's interests. It was what I always wanted from a relationship that I never had gotten, and it was perfect. It was just so different. Like, it was just a full acceptance of who I was, and it was never trying to like change who I was, and that was really refreshing. February is when things started to get real in my life. I've never discussed this much on my channel, but my mom passed away in February of 2013, which we had been together for 6 months at that point, and Autumn was there for me and was supportive for me the whole time, and saw me cry and saw me be angry and saw me be bitter towards people in my family, and was again accepting and supportive of the decisions that I made. It was the hardest thing I've ever gone through and probably ever will go through in my life, and he was a rock during it. And so I would say I 100% knew at that point that like we were in this forever. Like I was pretty convinced we would be together for the rest of our lives at that point. My relationship with my dad was also not the strongest ever. And so we were living with my dad, but I also needed to get out of living with my dad for my own sanity. And I also really wanted to do the Disney College program. We applied and both ended up getting in. What should have been an absolute dream come true for me. And granted, there were good moments, there were good things. We had a good time sometimes, but it was not what it should have been. After the college program, we lived in South Florida for a few years. We lived with our best friends for a little while in our first apartment on our own. And granted, we had roommates, but it was our first apartment that wasn't like with my parents. And we got Punzi, which was obviously another layer of commitment because now we had a dog together. And then in 2016, we moved to Orlando again. We lived with one of my friends from the college program, which is when I made like a lot of my videos. It was nice to be back in Orlando. We got to go to Disney for date nights and stuff, and like it was good to be back. And then after we lived in that apartment for a couple years, we finally made this like huge step, which was getting our own apartment that was just ours. And I have to say, like, our relationship, you know, has been a constant series of building blocks, both for each of us individually and also together as a couple. But I would say like that is when we became like a fully adult couple. It really started my favorite season of our relationship. It was a 1-bedroom apartment. It was beautiful and wonderful. I cried so much when we left. But we had a bedroom and a living room. Adam had like it was in the living room, but his own little like corner for his desk. And it just gave us more space to like exist on our own, develop our own interests and our own routines, but then like come together as a couple and still enjoy each other's company. It was a defining moment in our relationship for sure. And then while we were in that apartment, the pandemic hit. And I have to say, I think that's also a defining moment in any relationship that existed in 2020. Nonstop day in and day out, living with someone is a test. It did not exhaust me to be with Adam day in and day out and to never leave our apartment. I had anxiety about not leaving our apartment, but it wasn't because I was spending time with Adam. I liked having time with just Adam. I liked that we kind of got to live in a bit of a bubble. I was going through an existential crisis on the other hand, but being with Adam alone was not part of that. I think that was just another sign that like we are a really good match. We had good times in the pandemic. It wasn't perfect because we were stuck inside, but we played games together and we watched a lot of TV and movies. And I mean, you know, it wasn't the worst time, minus the existential crisis I was going through. It wasn't the worst time to be spent. You know, we had some good memories and some good times in quarantine. During the pandemic is also when we got engaged. I am the little girl that always wanted to get married. My siblings are much older than me, and my oldest brother got engaged when he was fresh out of high school, so I was 3 years old. That was my first real exposure to marriage, and I've been obsessed with it ever since, and I've always wanted to be a bride. Adam bought a ring in January of 2020. I didn't know it at the time, but I know it now. And he had asked me to take time off work in April to go to the parks. We don't have anything going on in April. Like usually when we like take time off work, it's because it's one of our birthdays or it's our anniversary or like a holiday or something like that we want to like do something for. It was like, April's kind of weird. And he was like, yeah, like maybe take like 3 days off at the beginning of April. So I took the time off. And then obviously this pandemic hit. We couldn't obviously go to Disney in April because Disney was closed. Finally, everything starts opening back up. Our 8-year anniversary was September 15th of 2020. On September 14th of 2020, we went on a date to Yacht Club. We went and ate at Ale and Compass. It's one of our favorite restaurants. And then after dinner, it was like raining and the boardwalk had just reopened, but only for DVC. Like the inn part of boardwalk wasn't open yet. So there wasn't really any crowds. It was like we had the boardwalk to ourselves and it was like sprinkling and we were both like a little dressed up. We went over to the Seabreeze Point gazebo and we watched Happily Ever After on my phone because it still wasn't back yet. And Magic Kingdom fireworks have always been our thing. Since our first trip to Disney together, we've always watched fireworks on Main Street, like whenever possible. And then he said like a lot of really, really nice things. And he even talked about my mom a little bit. And we're both sobbing. And he proposed right there at Seabreeze Point. And it was perfect and magical. And honestly, minus the pandemic of it all, everything I could have wanted. Because I am a private person. I never wanted the big Main Street proposal. I just wanted a fireworks proposal. It was really intimate and private, but it was at Disney still, and it was at a Disney resort that we both love and that we spend a ton of time at. It was the perfect proposal, and I love my ring, and he did a perfect job. It was wonderful. We spent the rest of that week celebrating. We went to Magic Kingdom and took photos and like told everyone on social media. It was the perfect week. That's me and Adam's relationship. And it kind of winds out with like in January of last year, we bought our first house, which is where we are now. And yeah, it's like we're grown-ups or something. It's crazy. This was obviously long-winded. There's a lot to say when you've been in a relationship for almost 10 years. It's crazy how much we've both grown and changed and evolved in the time that we've been together. I'm really excited to see where our relationship goes, and I'm so happy that we're officially married and on to this next chapter of our lives together. I couldn't ask for someone better to have gone through this, my 18th year to my 28th year with, and I can't wait to see what every new decade brings for us. If you stuck through all of this, thank you so much for watching. I know it was a lot. I feel like it was important to document where we've been and where we're at now before we dive into what our wedding was like. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps out so much. I look forward to sharing details about our wedding and honeymoon with you guys in the coming weeks. If you have requests for videos that you'd like to see, whether it's about Disney or something else, please leave it in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys would like to see on this channel. Please don't forget to subscribe if you'd like more magical Disney and lifestyle content. Have a magical day, and I'll see you real soon.